I'm going to probably do this on the ultra low latency next stream. I'm testing the low latency one right now. I'm not sure what the exact latency is. It seems like it's about 5 seconds or so. I'm going to set this up while we wait. Awesome, we got some people coming in. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. It's probably been a couple weeks. But if you haven't seen the previous live streams, so what we were doing project-wise is we've been setting up a personalized learning system from scratch. And we built out a couple modules and started testing it. We got to the point where it was starting to work pretty well, but that was it. Since then, there's been a lot of stuff that's come out, particularly in the last week. This should be pretty awesome by the end of the stream. And we'll go through everything again just to make it make sense. And commands. Okay. All right, welcome everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started here while people pop in. This will all be recorded anyway, so it's no big deal. Feel free to post comments and questions while we go through this, and I'll be following it, okay? Anyway, so in the last few weeks, OpenAI and Google have both released a lot of updates to their frontier models, and we're going to be exploring that real quickly today. We're going to be refining this personalized learning system. We're going to be going over some meta modeling. Hagrid was exploring some of this stuff the last few weeks and did some really cool things. So I want to be able to go in here and help him out, show you guys some techniques for this stuff, and take this stuff to the next level. I'm going to do a tutorial on how to set up just prompt repositories in general, how to do this with Notion and GitHub and all that kind of stuff. This really streamlines your life in terms of setting up prompt engineering things. And finally, I'm going to be presenting the content system that we were talking about last week and get some feedback. And yeah, then we'll see what else we want to do here, okay? So in general, I released 2 videos since the last live stream, the custom instructions and the Anthropic meta prompt refiner. So when I'm using ChatGPT today, I'm going to be using my custom instructions here just because it makes things a lot easier. But I have released this for free, so you can find this in another video if you haven't already seen it yet. I have something down here that talks about toggling different tools on and off, but honestly, you don't need to do this now. The tools work really well now, so it worked out very well. You also don't even need to do memory now, actually. You can not even use memory at all, and it's perfectly fine. I'm not really using, my memory is completely blank right now because I don't want anything applying in a generalized flash into different sessions, but that's just me. There's lots of different ways that you can leverage this stuff, okay? Anyways, what this is going to do is it's going to make like an action sequence and then help streamline workflows a little bit, okay? And then the other one I released was the Anthropic Prompt Refiner. You can find this in the other video, okay? This one's pretty straightforward. You can put in anything here. Doesn't matter what it is. And it's going to go through a process to classify the prompt, refine the prompt if it's an Anthropic prompt, right? And if it's not an Anthropic prompt, well, it's just going to be a prompt generator in that case, right? And this is why I always stress using any kind of meta prompt setup creatively, because there really isn't one way to use these, right? The logic's already there. This is going to work regardless. So it doesn't really matter what you put in. You're going to get a nice prompt, okay? So at the same time as being able to enter in Anthropic prompts into this, well, at the same exact time, you're able to just put in anything and then get a prompt generated, okay? I have logic in there specifically for refining Anthropic prompts in terms of what to do with the XML tags and just how to adjust it in general, but you'll get something decent regardless of what you do. Here's the cool thing. Because of OpenAI's update in the last day, every single GPT that was built with tool change should technically be working way better now. I haven't even tested any of my GPTs yet, but I already know they're all going to work really well because they were already set up for this. Like, let's see. And guys, as you know, feel free to post prompts or tasks in the chat if you want me to use it, because otherwise I just think of stupid things like this. Yep, everything should be working well. Yep. Perfect. All right, we don't even need to see further. All right, but anyways, so let's talk about the updates real quickly. So OpenAI had a demo last Monday where they showed off their new model 4.0 and the real-time stuff, all that kind of jazz. Real-time stuff is not going to be here for a bit. And they also said they're only releasing it to certain people first, so it's probably going to be a little while. Either way, 4.0 is out. The thing is they've been updating 4 and 4.0 constantly this last week. There was a period where I was able to access this alpha model that was right here, and you can just check it and it would apply, and it was really nice. And then I took it down, and later that day they announced the updated Python tool with the new features for Google integration. Oh, this account doesn't have it yet. Okay, I'll have to go on my other account then. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to add my custom instructions then because I don't have them in here. These are blank. And this is all you do to get this in, okay? Save. So now this should be set up. So what they added is they added this little like Google integration with Google Drive and Microsoft OneDrive. But what you can do is you can pretty much connect to your drive, select files, and then do a bunch of stuff. Now, everyone's thinking that this is something that only applies to files, but that's actually not true. They just flat out updated the model in general, okay? So for example, if you do something like create a data frame for classifying making something up right now. Intent, expected output. Hell, honestly, I haven't even tried this yet, but this you could probably make. I'm thinking about this right now. You could probably make a spreadsheet prompt just doing this, delineating the features with Layers. Interesting. Interesting. Let's just try it. Chain of thought. Parameters. No, input features. Input parameters, maybe. Custom prompt. All right, so anyway, when you do certain things now, it's going to trigger a pre-designed behavior. All right, so I didn't do this one this right. This is 4.0, so sometimes 4.0 makes mistakes. Yeah, so it should always call pandas now, and why is this screwing up now? Oh, this is 4.0 for you. Let's try it on 4. Of course, it's just not doing it right now. Of course. Create data frame, blah, 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 blah. Following. Why is it not showing now? Am I tripping out? Maybe I was doing this on the other account. Of course this happens now. I'm not sure why it's not. Here we go, this should work now. Unable to display. Did they toggle this off or something? Very strange. Let's try the same exact instructions. There we go. So interesting. So this is the very similar sequence that you'll see when this works. Watch it not work because I said that. Yep, there we go. Okay. So I get this is what I mean, right? The language is very tricky here. It's very strange. So basically what this means is that they've pre-trained certain types of tool behaviors. So like they've been studying how people have been using this stuff. They've been looking at workflows, sequences, all this kind of stuff, but they've been trying to figure out like what kinds of generalized sequences would be nice to just pre-train. It's because you're live. Yeah, I know it's because I'm live. At least we got it to work now though. But yeah, so they pre-trained some behavior and then they updated the model when they added this document selection stuff, okay? And you can trigger this by different types of, different types of instructions. So this is one type of way you can trigger this. This should normally happen when you upload files now, but in general, you don't even have to upload a file. All you really need to do is just get it to create like a CSV basically, and you'll be able to interact with it live. So the reason why this is cool is because you can just go in here now and just use it like edit it. Can you edit it? No, you can't edit it, but you can select things, okay? So you could just be like this and technically just use that as the prompt for whatever you want. Now, I would caution against doing this because typically for whatever reason, when you add something like this, it prevents you from being able to go back and like edit the response. I don't think they've fixed that yet. So I don't typically ever do that. But either way, you basically have a live spreadsheet now in the session. And this was already done. So all you have to do at this point is just add things in. So you can see how I pretty much picked the categories that it's picking here, right? And it's classifying this over several layers and then creating a prompt in this thing. So I mean, you could technically do anything in this manner, right? You could just be like, add entry or add sample data. Yeah, they already have this here. Let's just add something random. Meta prompts. Right, and it's going to start managing the CSV for you. So you could literally just hard generate and synthesize data now using this setup, and it's really easy. Like you can get up to like 200 rows of data generated with 10 different features in a single call. Like I was doing that with ease. So this is just something really cool to look at in general, because you can just start mass synthesizing data now. And then this is going to tie into larger systems, because larger systems like data. So anything that helps you streamline this process is really nice. But anyway, this is a really nice feature. And then it's not only just this with the spreadsheets, but you can also they have a bunch of different types of like post behavior train now. You can even see this stuff will pop up now at the bottom. Show me the data frame summary. Like if you click one of these, this is how you know they pre-trained one of these in some kind of way, okay? Because they wouldn't add that unless there was consistent behavior. So there's a lot of different things you can do now. We can be like visualize, just to see what it does. So 4.0 was a lot worse a week ago than it is now. 4.0 is way better now with the Python tool, but it still makes mistakes. However, if you get something to work correctly once or twice, it typically a few shots to behavior to be able to keep things consistent past that point. So as you can see here, they've also updated this with live UIs of the visualizations, which is super, super cool. I really, really, really love this. I was not expecting this, but there's a lot of different ways that you can interact with this stuff now, changing the colors and just being able to visualize data in general. I really like this move on their end. It's really cool. They kind of set up the system exactly how it was with Dolly editing, which is nice, because you can just pretty much prompt with data now and just interact with stuff like this. So I really like this. There's so many different things. I'm sure there's a lot of things I haven't even seen yet. But another example of this is if you upload a video, right? Let's just pick something random. How long are these? If you upload a video right now, this is another type of pre-trained behavior that I found, and kudos to Darth for finding that, or getting me to look at it at least, because I would never even have thought to try this. So when you upload a video file now, it's going to go through a couple steps of pre-trained behavior, analyzing it, and it's extremely consistent in what it does. Typically does an analysis, and then it will extract the audio. Yep, there it is. And then it'll try to do this. Normally, it will just try to do it all in one go. Normally, it doesn't stop like this. Foro is just so fast, too. That's the thing. Like, you can spam stuff with 4.0. Actually, I know why. Okay, so let's try this then. It's because I gave no instruction. Let's try summarize the video. So yesterday it was doing this where it extracts the metadata, and then it tries to extract keyframes, and then it tries to extract the audio. It's taking a little bit. What did it call here? Yeah, because Darth, you said that Hey, Ren. Yeah, thanks. I wasn't sure how this works for that, so I was planning on talking to you about that after this in terms of figuring out what the best way to do that would be. I was just trying to see if I could get this to work on YouTube. But thank you. I appreciate it like always. Man, this is taking forever. Well, you know me and names. I'm like super dyslexic with names. All right, I don't think this is. I don't think this is gonna work. It's a 60-second timeout window, right? I think it's been 60 seconds. Maybe this is just frozen. Let's try with 4. This is another cool thing. You can just click that to instantly refresh this now. Yeah, let's see what you got. What the hell? You guys see that? That wasn't just me, right? It instantly called something and then said it had an error. That's so strange. That's not normal. It also hid the window. I wonder if that's tricky. I saw that. Yeah, it failed on speech recognition again. So they already have this behavior set up. This is the thing. So this isn't actually in place yet, but it's close. They haven't activated this module yet. This happens every single time. It goes through the same sequence and then it hits this part and then it can't. So it's not able to actually analyze videos yet. And even if it was, this wouldn't actually be like real video analysis, right? It's literally extracting frames, extracting the audio, and then using that to create a summary, right? That's not the same thing as tokenizing a video like what Gemini does, right? So anyway, there's a bunch of different stuff. There's a bunch of different stuff that is probably possible now. In general, Python tool is just extremely advanced now. Before they released GPT Turbo, GPT had a lot more resources to work with, and it also had a very similar looping system where they're basically processing this stuff in batches, right? If you can tell, the way you can tell is if you have a conversation with 4.0 right now, and this typically happens after you're a couple of responses in. Honestly, we could probably test this right now. Actually, I don't know what I would say. If you swap the model and then have it do something that hits the continue part, it'll bug the UI, and you'll be able to see the response loop at that point. It happens every single time. But basically, having a conversation in 4.0, swapping a response to 4, having that response hit the continue point, that doesn't play well with the UI. They didn't predict that particular combination, so it shows you the response loop as a result. Right now I'm just doing this to show you an example, but I don't think it's actually going to hit the. Yeah, it's not going to hit that. So anyway, video stuff doesn't work right now. Let's move on from this because this is pointless. The other thing that was pretty crazy was, where was it? I can show you what I was testing here. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Unable to display. So I guess it bugs out after. I was wondering how this was going to work because the Python tool environment typically is closed after an hour, about 2 hours, right? They sometimes tweak that amount, but you lose access to that environment when it's done. So it looks like you lose access to the visualizations too. And you lose access to the data. So that's a little annoying. So basically what that means is that if you're doing like emergent data synthesis and stuff like that, you need to make sure you're done before the Python tool times out. The reason why this is super strong, guys, in general, is just because Python tool is not limited to any kind of context window, right? Like whatever it does in that session does not count towards your context window, right? So it can do a bunch of data manipulations and stuff like that with code and not have it interfere with what's going on in the session, right? So the fact that this works like this As long as you keep this session live, you can technically generate a massive amount of data with coherence and with the CSV maintaining the structure at the same time. Let's see if these all timed out. Yeah, this doesn't show any of it anymore. That's annoying. That means like literally anything you do with this stuff, after an hour or two, you can never actually see what it did. I wonder what happens if you do this. Because in the past, when this would happen, you would have to do a call to the Python tool. No matter what it did, it would fail the first call. But then after it did a call and failed, it would start to work in a new environment again. So let's see. If this fails at the end, it's exactly the same. Yep, what did I say? Right there. So now this one should work. Okay, or it's not. Weird. Huh. Do they just close the environment now in general? There's no way that's possible. This could just be... So, what? Okay, so this is a great example of... this is an amazing example for 4.0, right? Because it just randomly decided to make a picture with Dolly instead. That's hilarious. That's actually hilarious. Because that isn't too far off from what these were looking like, too. Wow. So this is the multimodal reasoning that people are talking about, right? Like this stuff would never happen. That would never happen before they swapped to the new neural net, right? That's really cool. So it's screwed up. I'm not exactly sure why. I've never seen it keep failing like this. I wonder if they close the environment. That would be really, really, really annoying. Because I would do this all the time where I would just refresh the environment after a timeout and then you could easily get it back to the... Damn, that would make so much sense if that's what they do now. Actually, shit. So you're basically locked in. Yeah. You're probably right because I only tested this last night, but I remember before I fell asleep, I clicked an older one and it was already not showing the visualization. That's super annoying. I mean, that basically forces you to do something like right then, or you're gonna lose it. Having no way to reactivate the Python tool is a big deal. Because I used to use that. That was an essential part of anything that you were doing with this. What happens if you click one of these? It's gonna, yeah. All right, it's messed up 100 times. So they're not letting you access it again. Okay, that sucks. That sucks big time. Hopefully that is something temporary. Either way, that's just I don't know. It could just be the Python tool in general now. All right, so basically do things in single sessions now if you're using the Python tool because you're going to lose the... Oh, no. So the results are still here. So the Python tool results will be there. It's just the visualizations that will not be there. Okay. That's fine then. So it still has the data. It just doesn't have the files and stuff. All right, anyways, let's move to looking at Gemini. So they added 1.5, the previous version, to Gemini Advanced. Okay, this is Google's dialogue system here. You wouldn't even know it unless like you read the thing or you ask it or something, because they just straight call it Gemini Advanced, right? So what they do when they add it in here, there's a lot of things that change. Like for example, like they hook it up. They they do a lot of pre-training and post-training processes. I mean, they confirm this with the paper they just put out. So basically what they're doing is they're just like constantly training it on new data and stuff like that over and over again. So that's why it has base train knowledge of recent news. Like if you type in stuff like this, you'll get information that's extremely current. And you'll always you'll always get the Reddit link too. You see that? So I just want to I want to stress this really hard, guys, because like this is a big deal to me, because it's like this is what's going to start happening more and more if they get away with it, because they're using RFHL to basically float this stuff whenever they have connections, right? So this is expected on my end, but it just confirms a lot for me in terms of what they're doing. Just be really careful about your data online, all right? But anyway, so this has a 1 million context window limit now. But when they added into the system, they added a bunch of layers and shit. So I don't know. It doesn't work as well as I hoped, in the sense that it has a lot of catastrophic repetition problems that are not present in the studio. So funny enough, like with this attention mechanism now, it's working subpar compared to the API with embedding models now. Why that is, I'm not exactly sure. It could just be because of all the shit they probably populate in the context before they run it through, but it's hard to say. So anyway, you can put in massive inputs now to this stuff, right? So let me show an example with something fun. So here's the thing about Gemini Advanced. When you upload files like this, it's not necessarily going to read it, right? If you hit enter and you don't see analyzing, like I can't remember exactly, we'll see in a second. If you don't see some kind of pop-up that shows it analyzing, it's not even reading the document, so it's just going to do something random. So let's see. Yep, what did I tell you? It didn't even, this is what makes it terrible. Like, this is our reinforcement learning with human feedback. They're floating stuff and floating links on purpose, right? So I uploaded this whole thing here. It didn't even read it. It just did some random BS to float some links. Bitcoin, blockchain game, and some mobile game, right? So it didn't even read the file. Now, if I refresh this, it'll work as soon as it reads it, right? See, there we go, analyzing. Now it's reading it. See, that's really, really bad. Like, the fact that they're doing that ticks me off. It just shows you how much crap they're polluting the system prompt with. All right, so it works. The interesting thing, though, is that it always breaks, in advance, it always breaks the context, or the syntax of the initial menu. Every single time. They must be tokenizing this slightly differently from the studio because of that. Because, for example, if I was to, should already have it here. If I was to do this here, we're at about 75,000 tokens right now. It should work. See? This is what it should look like. So I'm not exactly sure. It's hard to say because I can't see their layers, but they put a bunch of BS in it when they add it to the Gemini Advanced. So just keep that in mind. It's still nice. Like, I'm pretty sure you get unlimited use now too. It's just that, like, the fact that you can add a file like this and then it doesn't even read it, and it'll just do something else, like, that's pretty bad. People who don't understand this are going to have no idea, right? All right, so anyway, that's advanced. I'm not even going to be using advanced, if I'm being honest, just because of this crap, because they, at the same exact time as them adding 1.5 into advanced, they also added the new 1.5 into the studio, okay? And this thing slaps. I've had great results with this so far. You also can actually change the temperature now. You weren't able to do this before. They had it locked. So I haven't even messed with seeing how the temperature adjustments play out, but it's really nice. So here's the thing about Studio now. Studio is so sick in terms of how many updates they did to this to make this shit on another level, okay? So let me give you some examples. So let's get another like let's get another response or two in here. So first off, you can just do this. So I just submitted an input without running anything, and you can do that by hitting Shift Enter. But you can type stuff in and then do that, right? Put in multiple user inputs, delete them, whatever you want. Run it whenever you feel like. So this is very similar to Playground, right? Very similar to Playground now, except it's even better. Let's see. My one gripe with Gemini was that when you get into really long sessions and really big context, it starts lagging hardcore. But okay, cool. Okay, cool. Cool. So this is mostly working. The other thing about Gemini, which is really weird, is that sometimes it has some kind of it has some kind of function that's making it want to use as few resources as possible. Because for whatever reason, it'll often like give you small responses like this, and then if it does it once, like every single other response it does after that point will be really small too. But like if you get it to do a really massive response, which it can totally do in the very first input, the same thing will be true too. Every single other response will be massive as well. It's really annoying how that works. So basically with Gemini, I typically will refresh things and redo things until I get a super awesome first response. And then after that point, everything is pretty awesome. Okay. So the cool thing about this UI now is that you can do a lot of different things. So you can completely delete and edit anything, the model response, user inputs at any point in time. And not only that, but you can edit everything too. So like I can go in here and I can edit the response to whatever I want. So like if I had a better interface, right? Like if I had something that should be what it looked like, I could just live tweak this right now and set it to what it should be, right? It would be that simple. It would just require me to have had that window open first. So I could go in here and delete this, right? And set that to what I want. So that's correct, right? So now I can delete this. Actually, I don't even need to do that. I can just hit run. And fix that to what it should be, right? So being able to edit responses is really powerful. I can't stress it enough, because if it ever makes a mistake, you can just fix it instead of feeling the need to have to redo or like just completely redo something just because of a mistake, right? You can also recursively update stuff to prevent incoherent learning if things change. So highly recommend just exploring editing stuff in general. It's taking its time on this one. That's typically good. Hey, there we go. Now you guys have seen the magic of what I'm building. There we go. See the difference it makes when you have a proper priming? I mean, I wouldn't ditch GPT. I mean, because I'm gonna be using the toolchain. I'm gonna be using Python tool all the time now. All the time. It's so fast and so easy to use. I'm not gonna be using GPT for reasoning or co-creative design or modeling or anything like that, but I'm gonna be using that Python tool for data operations for sure. All right, so as you can see here, simply because they allow you to edit responses, I updated this to be a proper response length and what it should have been, and then now it's able to do this properly, okay? So I could probably fix this with tweaking. Really haven't even spent that much time on this yet, but I just wanted to show this as an example of how all this stuff plays out. So you can also just hard refresh things just by clicking this, which is nice because they didn't have that before. And most importantly, you can actually copy shit and have the syntax be preserved. So you can just copy Markdown now and go over to a page and just paste, and it'll be perfect. See? Isn't that nice? Before, it was the biggest pain in the ass. I'm telling you. But Jimmy, I'm keeping my sub the GPT. I'll be using it a lot. I don't really use Playground ever, because if I'm doing something that I would be using Playground for, I would be doing it in Opus or Gemini instead. But it's up to you, right? There's a lot of options now. Big modeling stuff is done in Opus and Gemini right now. And then GPT is going to be best for data operations, okay? That's the basic gist on those. Okay, so that's the rundown on these new systems, okay? So now what we're going to be doing is pushing the stuff, okay? So the first thing I wanted to do was go over this setup that we had last time, because when we were building this last time, we still had the crappy GPT. It wasn't able to do a lot. That was Turbo, and Turbo was terrible. So thankfully it's a lot better now, something from the Python 2 updates and the multimodal reasoning. So we should be able to get a lot better things done now. So we had a couple different modules. The goal of this is to basically create a personalized lesson plan for any kind of input, personalized for the user, specifically based on the parameters they set, and actually have it be really, really good. That's the key here, and actually having it be good. So we did this over a couple steps because I showed you guys how if you just try to do this from nothing, it's going to suck, right? So by breaking things down and modularizing things, you simply by doing that on top of prompts, you create an emergent system that starts to just work. And it's the best way to do this stuff, honestly. It's what I do for pretty much everything now at this point. So, all right, so we did a good bit of stuff. If I remember right, we started synthesizing things. Yeah, okay. Anyways, so I'm not a big fan of this setup right here, actually, anymore. We can still use this. That's fine. Okay, so this is going to be version 2. So what I'm going to actually do here is, so I'm not going to constrain myself now anymore at this point in terms of I'm not going to put on a bunch of constraints to this to make this more complicated to do. What I'll basically do here from now on is just show you great ways to just streamline this stuff and just get this stuff going, okay? So for example, it's I had GPT make some kind of BS lines here. These aren't that great of lines. They also really don't do that much. What I would want to do is I'm probably going to run this through the prompt generator. Anthropic, where are you? Here. Just to get, for the simple reason is I just want to get a couple different refined lines that I can use from this that will establish a better solution space. And this also can be a nice way to just probe what it thinks the best way to do this is, right? Damn, that's fast. And it's also doing it out of order, but that's fine. Whatever works. Watch this be a better prompt than everything I set up before. Oh, I'm just kidding. See, this is the thing about 4.0. It just has so many tokens where it just will add so much crap in between steps. 4 is pretty clean with this still, where it will keep things exactly how it should be. This isn't necessarily a bad thing though. Yeah, it's just repeating it again. Okay. Interpret educational inputs, design words. Okay, that's fine. That's a nice prompt. And see, the thing is, here's the other thing. It has way more context to work with now because they upped the response lengths. So these kind of things are just going to work way better, because before it would probably had you have reduced one of these two in order to meet the response length. But now it can flush them all out, no problem. Okay, awesome. So these are pretty solid. Pretty solid. Let's go ahead and just copy this. Delete all this. All right, so we have input classification. I'm just going to start toggling these. Clean this up. This is also going to be tying into the prompt repository stuff that I'm going to be showing you how to streamline this stuff, okay? So, user commands. We don't want those. Let's put these up here. Okay. So this is going to be like a core logic. This is going to like establish like the high level flow for whatever it's going to be doing. Okay. So I want to make sure all of this is right. Highly customized and adaptive learning paths, educational optimization, good. Awesome. Educational inputs, design, sequence, learning material. I don't know about that one. Learning materials. Integrate, that's fine. I also want it to provide interactive tutorials and okay, there we go. That's good. That's fine. I might need to tweak this. I might not want to have this workflow in here. I also don't want to use this because this would change the... Yeah, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this too. All right, so right now in the core logic we have I'm going to have to delete these, I have a feeling. It's going to mess up the workflow. We're going to have these two right now. So these are like the core logic for the system, okay? But it doesn't have specifics. So each of these modules is going to be where like the module specific data and prompts and structures are, okay? And then all of this will serve as the overall prompt. So let's do this. Okay, so if we go back to this original one, so we already took care of that. What do we have here? We have a prompt process. Let's make a template for this real quick. Prompt process. Input template. I'm going to change these words. Usage. This is not the best way to do this. Response anchor. Look at that. I copied it the perfect amount of times. Okay. Anyways, so prompt. Let's do logic, progression. All right, so this is going to be, these are the layers of these are our module layers, okay? So all of these modules are going to have stuff populated for each of these, okay? I'm going to move this up, right? So these are like anchors, right? Because these are what you're forming things around. And you always design these first, right? I never try to do this in reverse. I always start with a structure and then I populate it, right? This is kind of like graph prompting in a sense, because if you were just to like put insert here, if I was to just do this and nothing else, right? The structure itself provides understanding, right? Like I can tell you right now, I could just copy this, go over to here, paste this and nothing else, and this will do something, right? Because the structure is what provides logic, right? Look at that. It's even making a tool chain for me randomly. Oh, that's funny. Look at this. Okay, so they must have updated the system prompt. Look at that. That's completely new. It would normally never do this. You know what that means. Where are we at? Let's see what we got here. Oh my god, guys, I hacked OpenAI. Don't tell on me, please. Nothing so far. It's hanging again. This hanging's been constant. There we go. Okay. Ah, there it is. There it is. There it is. The sneaky bastards. There's the new lines. So they have Python twice in here? No, they added it. Okay, so that's why they added it to the end then. Because what the main change they made in the last change was they put Python tool at the bottom. Makes sense they did this. So this is, okay, that's actually going to, this is exactly why this is working like this. It makes so much sense. Holy, when OpenAI learns how to do a single thing properly with prompting, it makes such a big difference. It's definitely better though. Okay, so I wonder if they even pre-trained anything. I mean, honestly, it could just be this and nothing else. That's totally possible. They haven't touched the Python tool instructions in so long. It's crazy. This is the first time in probably a year they've touched that. I'm going to go ahead and copy this over here to save this for you guys. And then after this part is where, so like after this part is where memory and stuff like that will be. So let's actually look at what this says, right? Okay. Normal. This is all normal. This is all new. Use the data frame. So that's why data frame triggers this. That makes sense. Okay. See, all this stuff is really easily explainable when you see the system instructions. Okay. To visually present pandas when it benefits the user. Okay. Nice. They learned here. That's a useful line to have in here, actually. When making charts to the user, never use Seaborn. Interesting that they give it. Huh. This tells me that they probably didn't pre-train it. This is literally just a system prompt change. Wow. Give each chart its own description. I repeat, when making charts for user, use. Look at, they have a hard-coded sequence in here. So they just put in a hard-coded. Honestly, I wonder if they did anything except that, because that could technically be all they did. and then just update the pipe done tool and then give it more resources. No, they could have changed nothing else, and this would work. Okay, so that's all that's changed, and they just added the data frame functionality with the chart visualization. Okay, it doesn't actually have instructions on anything else. Interesting. But it will repeat that sequence when it gets a video file. Very interesting. Okay. So that means that it will start putting in data frame usage into tool sequences on its own, as you can see here. This just like filled it out for me. Look at that. Because I had the structure, it had no other context, right? Had zero other context. Well, the other context it had is my custom instructions, right? So the only thing here is this, custom instructions above it, and then above that is the system prompt, right? So it's like the system prompt provides the base knowledge of the tools. The custom instructions then tell it how to use its tools. And then it projects it through the structure, right? So it already has, even though it seems like nothing here, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that is working together in a generalized fashion to make this stuff possible, right? So it's just something to keep in mind. Research, because honestly, if this tool sequence works, that's sick as fuck, honestly. Maybe we should just test this to see if this works. I'll need to delete this. Request. Yeah, I'll need to delete that. Deleting this. Let's see. So where's the input now? We're gonna have to change that part. Domain and keywords. Did you guys post any tasks or anything? Nope. All right, I guess I'm making something up then. If this works, this will be sick. So it used the browser tool. Watch is gonna break probably. No way it does the next one. Yep. Damn it. It's probably because it's not in a GPT though. Oh, look at that sequence. I just want this to work. It's just copying it. This is 403, right? Oh. It's just still planning. Oh, it's doing it. It's probably going to break right here, though. Yeah, I just don't want the browser tool in here. Yeah, we just need to delete the browser tool from this. This is why you always test stuff, right? I don't actually want browser tool in this, because that's going to be a pain. Python synthesize. Collective wisdom. What just happened? My bitrate is too high. Interesting. I don't know how to fix that right now. Is the video and sound fine, guys? Is there anything that I might not know about? Let me delete that one. How many times did it? I would just like put like the same thing every single time. Python, 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 Python. Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo that. What we could do now is we could have it where you set this up to, let's see. So what types of this do I want? Toolchain sequence. So let's just copy this. Let's just take the parts of this that are nice. What do we have over here for the other one? Let's see. Yeah, so we don't want to do a structured, we want to use a data frame now. The data frame is nice actually here. So much changed. I wonder if I should even use this. Maybe better to do a new one with the other logic with toolchains. Let's keep this. Input features. Let's keep that. Oops, wait, before I copy these. Almost forgot. Let's get these modules in here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just set that up in advance to do that. Okay, so core logic was here. Process was, put that one in here. I'll probably have to change that though. Oh yeah, I would definitely will have to. Because we don't actually want it to do any of that. To a structured format. Actually, what we can do is we can just add this to the end. Interesting, okay. Process, input features, example. So I'm actually not going to be using this because something I want to show you guys here in this example is that there's actually a lot of ways to do this stuff. And something that I haven't had a lot of time to really go over in general here is just creating shots in general. So like, here's the thing about shots. When you use shots, it's the best way to lock in behavior, okay? And there's a couple different things that you have to keep in mind. It's one, it's the best way to advance behavior to a further degree, right, by using shots. But at the same time, when you use shots, you also kind of lock in behavior in different types of ways. So you only want to use shots when you need to, and when you use shots, you want to make sure they're as good as possible, right? So the problem with just trying to do all this stuff straight from synthesized data is that you don't really ever start with a good base. you could work with the AI to create like an extremely good lesson, like a lesson, right? And then use that as the shot. That's something that you could do, right? But you have other ways to do this too. So for example, let me find where this is. But I have a course that I saved that I want to show you guys how to convert into a shot, okay? Because the best way that you could do this is to have like a really well-made lesson plan, basically, that an expert made that it can use as a reference when basically making different ones, right? The important thing here is in terms of like how the course is set up and structured, like the progression of the knowledge. That's the important part here. So I'm going to show you guys how I would do this, but let's go over to 1.5 just because it's easier. Let's save this. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to upload. Where is this at? Oh, God. There it is. So this is a machine learning course made by Andrew and Nick, right? And it's a really nice one. I like to use this one for structures in general and learning ML. I used this a while ago. So let's make a little prompt. So it's about 100,000 tokens, right? I'm not interested in the content here at all. What I'm interested in is I'm trying to encode the lesson plan, right? So the table of context, basically. That's what I'm interested in. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be like, create the comprehensive lesson plan, course outline. All right, let's see if this works. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm glad that it sounds good. Okay. Yep, so it's just working nicely. Okay, so now we got to think about how do we take. So what I want to basically do at this point is I want to take what we did before, with how we were doing this previously, with synthesizing the lesson plan as a JSON object. Instead of doing that, I want to have this work a similar way. Where did it end? I think that's it. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so this can be a shot, right? So this is basically what I would use as my shot. One, two, three, four. So we need to figure out how to take this and what we're doing before and then put that into the data frame logic, right? So create JSON. Yeah. So this is a nice shot. This was made by a person, right? Anyone who takes time to do anything in terms of structuring knowledge, it's probably going to be better to use that instead of like trying to make something yourself if you don't have the knowledge, okay? Human knowledge is still extremely valuable. So we have that. Usage example input. Basic example output. Toolchain sequence. So let's do this now. Let's copy these. Delete this. Python, Python, Python. So what we're going to do here is what the hell do I have as the... Oh, there we go. So I literally just have it making a JSON object. So what we can do then is we can I know what we can do. Might need to change the words on this. That might work. That might work. Course modules. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I forgot how we were doing this. Okay, so we literally were just... Here's the thing: you can do so many of these when you incorporate tool chains. You can do so many things in a single response by doing this. So this all we're doing here is just synthesizing the data for the next step. That's right. Okay. So honestly, I can probably remove this part. I don't even need a response structure. I can use that to tune. Let's just try this out. All right, so as usual, progressive testing always, right? So we don't need that there. Where's the input? It's doing it all in one call right now because I didn't have it set up as a sequence. Look at that. Awesome. So the base behavior is working right now, right? So because it worked this in terms of the sequence, right? But obviously this isn't obviously this isn't like an ideal way to set this up, right? Okay. Oh, I know why. I know why. I know why. Silly, silly me. I just completely forgot how I forgot how much we broke this down. Holy cow, we broke this down a lot. Yeah. Okay, so this basically works though. And it created a thing. And then personalization. So the point of this is to basically, yeah, so we don't really want this here. We can put that here. Okay. Let's just go ahead and copy all this over. If we're going to be doing tool chains, we might as well modularize this. Sequencing. This is where this is where it was. We even had to do that in order to get it to work. Yeah, this is the thing. I really want to use this data frame functionality. I think this is the key to this right now. Maybe I should just code this from scratch. I feel like this is limiting me too much. Because you don't technically need to do this. This isn't even gonna, like, this kind of setup would work better in Gemini or Opus. But if we're gonna be using tool chains, JSON construction. Yeah, let's just remove that completely. And then let's pull this. Let's actually go with that one right now. Okay, and then we can do we can go up here and yep, there we go, perfect. Yeah, this is the move to do for that. Let's see how it handles the data frame creation. Yeah, I have to tweak that. Okay, it worked there. Awesome, look at that. That's cool. Can you move it? Oh, you can, nice. So you can basically just like make your own little, that's pretty cool, right? I think that's cool. And this is only the introduction, okay. This isn't even the course, right? This is just the, this was the knowledge base setup, okay. So then, this is where we personalized it. Yep. And this is where we did this. Okay, so now let's test the next part real quick. We can keep that in for now. I'm going to remove a lot of this crap because, I mean, this is going to be LLM powered learning. So, I mean, we don't need any of that stuff. Uh-oh, why is my stream hanging? Oh, we're good. Okay, so I'm just going to remove most of this crap. So that's fine. That's fine. Preferred teaching approaches. Yep, that's fine. Let's move these. Okay. Example. It's not receiving enough video. Okay, maybe I'm not moving my screen enough. Let's go ahead and just pop this in here. But we're gonna match tools. We're gonna change this case-based learning, interactive discussions. Delete this. Delete that. Continuing education. YouTube's giving me like popping up things that my stream's messing up. I don't know why. Oh, now it's good right as I said that. Okay, so that one's good. We don't have a tool sequence for that. What would this be? I don't even know what I don't even know what that would be. Like I would probably want to put this into a second call. Like that would be first call. This would be the second call because it can do all of this easily. But then you wouldn't be able to do another input. Maybe I should just merge all of this into a single one. Like I could merge all of this. That's probably the move, is just to make a giant. I don't know, but then you're narrowing it ahead of time. No, let's keep it like this because we already talked about this. We can see if we can keep a long. Let's see if we can keep a long chain coherent tool sequence going over 4 steps. That'd be cool. So tool sequence. I don't even know what that would be. It doesn't even have much to do. Maybe we can just put that as a step in the second part. Okay, so let's do the third one. We can just copy this. Copy that. Copy the inputs. Core notes. I wonder if we're going to have to change this because actually, I guess it doesn't matter. That might actually work out with how this works with the data frame, actually. I'm not going to add anything else in terms of like, before I add any more tool logic, I'm going to see what happens when the initial tool logic is all I have and see what happens when through ICL when you try this with other stuff. That's what we're going to do before we try anything else. So we're going to start testing here in a few minutes. I'm getting the setup right now. Jinx. So that's good. Oh, I know what I can do. Oh, this is actually perfect. Perfect. This is perfect, actually. And then I can do this. What I can do here is 1 2, 3, 4, 5, and 17. That's perfect, actually. This might be really good. Oh, number of subnodes per core. Ooh, no, that doesn't work. All right, we might need to tweak that a little bit. We'll see how that plays out. There's technically 4 levels on this. Yeah, 4 levels. That's fine. And then I made a response anchor for this. Okay. Okay, cool. So we'll keep it like that, and then we'll do the last one here. Yeah, definitely not going to have a usage here. I mean, I guess I could actually, and I know exactly what I could do. So this is where, so basically, if there's anything that you expect to just be crippled by like putting in a basic shot, if you have a good shot, it could be a good time to use it. So like, for example, if I go over to wherever I have my, God, where is that even anymore? Where I have my lessons. No, that's not right. There it is. All right, so if I had, for example, like, the only problem is that this might actually push it over the, this is probably going to push it over the context limit if I include this, but it's fine. So we can do example input. We can do prompt engineering. And we can do lesson this, and then we could do example output. We're creating a shot right here, okay? And then I'm going to copy a different one. I was going to put the tag logic in here. Ugh, whatever. This is a good lesson, though. Oh, and the cool thing now is that it's going to have some context to work with, actually. Okay, so let's change this to 1. That's awkward. There we go. Okay, so I'm providing it a high quality shot right now of a lesson plan that I already made, right? So good. These are all correct links. And now the only thing I might want to change this to be something different because that's more of an Anthropic thing than a GPD thing. Yep, that should be good. Okay, perfect. So that's a nice shot for that. I don't have anything else in here. The only other thing was this. Okay, so now we finally, okay, that took forever, have this set up, but it's set up nicely for, there we go. And that's why the toggle's nice. Let's go ahead and just full screen this. Okay, so this is our prompt setup right now. We can even toggle this too. There we go. So this should work already, right? The only question is going to be what LLM can we put it in? So I don't actually know how big this is yet. This might still be large enough for, or small enough for GPT. We can see. I don't know. I guess we have to try. Does anyone have a topic or something that you want me to test with this? You just got to give me a title for the main topic and a couple keywords. All right, let's see what happens, or if it even allows us to enter it. Oh, we're good. Awesome. And it bugged, thinking that it was calling Python tool and it wasn't. Ace tools. You're not calling the Python tool. Look at that. It thinks it's calling its tools when it's not. That's frustrating. I wonder what's the chance this fits in a GPT? I would say about 0% chance. Oh, I almost got my hopes up. That's not. See, if this worked in a GPT, this would like instantly work. Yep. Damn it. The bane of my life right now. So we can try this with 4. Should probably work with 4. I'm gonna go to the restaurant with surprise. I see it working. That's what I like to see. However, I want to make sure that it's going to be doing the data frame. It didn't make the data frame. It didn't sequence it here. Let's try this with no custom instructions. It'll probably work worse, but you might as well see. Where are you? There you are. Yeah, I'm gonna have to tweak this. This is also 4.0. Just repeating everything. Bad job, GPT. All right, so basically the gist here is that I'm going to need to refine some tool chains for this, but this is the basic flow of this, right? So how this will probably work is it's going to, damn, it's a long problem at this point. I just need to get I need to code the tool chains, and then this is going to work fine. So basically it's going to synthesize the data for the knowledge space first, and then it's going to personalize it based on the user's input for the second step, and then it's going to create the structured course, and then it's going to allow you to synthesize a lesson for any type of predefined lesson in the previous course. And that should work. All I need to do is make the tool chains and the response anchors. So I'll do that after this, so that way we're not wasting time on that in the stream anymore. But this is how this is going to work, and then I'll have it with the data frame in the first one, and then in the second ones, it will build upon that into a single data frame. That should be possible to do right now with a prompt. The question will be how to do that in a GPT yet. I'm not 100% sure, but okay. So I'll refine that. I'll probably refine that tonight actually, because I want to use this. This is going to be cool. So with that being said, let's move on from this right now, and I'll refine the prompt tonight and then post it with a video on how to use it in the next day or two. Let's do that, and then let's move to the next thing that I wanted to go through, which is the meta modeling stuff real quick. So if we go back here, I said I want to explore some meta modeling techniques. So Hagar was doing some meta modeling, and he offered for me to share this and also be able to just give some examples of this stuff in general. So let me go to where I have his stuff. Okay. Two files here. So let's go over to Gemini. Let's throw it in here first, see what happens. This is the other one. Is it disappearing? Oh, it's because it's... Doesn't support JSON. That's fun. So what I can do then is I can just convert this into TXT. Yep. All right, that's fine. That should work now. So you know it's reading it because it shows you the analysis. So Hagar had a bunch of knowledge and information that he was synthesizing into a structured format over many, many turns with Gemini 1.5. And the way this looks right now, let's just look at how this stuff looks. Okay. So he basically had a bunch of cheat sheets, okay? So first he structured the knowledge into different types of structured representations, okay? And made a bunch of basically knowledge sequences, okay? I like to call these like, I like to call these semantic progressions, okay? Because what it basically does is it's both knowledge and also just a structured process that makes sense to follow to achieve some kind of goal at the end, right? So not all of these are going to be progressions, but all of them are going to have some kind of theme and some stuff to something that's going to be valuable to know, right? So all of these different cheat sheets, the problem is every single one of these is probably high quality information, right? You're probably not going to be able to be like, oh, like, let me just delete this and then somehow it's going to still be able to know that, right? So what I see is this part right here basically is this is the structured information that you're trying to model stuff and train stuff with. The trick then from this point becomes, how do you, wait, was this all one input? Oh, it might have all been one input. Okay. So anyway, so he has a bunch of knowledge and information here, tons and tons of stuff. And the question is, how do you compress this? Like, how do you functionalize this? Like, how do you do stuff with this, right? And then at the very end, he starts doing some modeling and graphing of the knowledge, okay, to try to capture some sequences. Overall, this is a good way to just get stuff structured and start a meta modeling process in general, doing this stuff. The trick then becomes you got to figure out what you're trying to do with this, right? So that's the next part we'll get into here. Right, and then what he did after all of that is he created like a giant, basically created a model, right? He has a structured knowledge representation here, and then a bunch of different graphs. So this is actually a really nice way to do this. The one thing I would say, so right off the bat, this is really solid. It's just that there's a couple things that we can do here. Yeah, okay. So the problem right now with this is that, yeah, okay. So basically you did this perfectly in terms of what you did to set this up. The biggest thing that you're gonna, so basically the next step now is just taking this and curating this into a form that will allow it to be functionalized and understood in the first place. And then once it's understood and learned in a single turn, then you can start functionalizing it, right? So it's actually, this next step is a little easier than you probably realize, just because the biggest thing here and the problem with this setup right now is simply that there is no delineation, right? So what you would actually want here is you would want to have everything how it is right now, except instead of just having everything pasted into a document, you would want to have layers in this, right? So like what I would do is I would like go to like Notion, for example, and then I would do this. God, I love cats. And then make some layers. Okay, so this is going to also be at the same time an example of how to start setting up repositories, right? So the first thing that I do whenever I'm doing anything like this, I'm going to show an example in Notion, is I set up a database really quickly. And then I toggle on sub items, do a couple things. Boom. Okay. So this is going to be the course forge. All right. So we have a little database set up here. what I'm going to do now is I'm going to structure this information real quickly. Okay, so this is going to be the core knowledge representation. We'll pass this to JSON. Yep, that's fine. So this is the KR of the system. Now the problem is that since there aren't since there aren't labels in here, I actually don't know what to label these. Hire, do you have the labels where these, like when you synthesize these, do you have like the original titles of what these graphs were? Or are these going to be in the other context? So the ideal thing would be to have labels for each of these that can be used to delineate this, but like I don't even know what these are. Is it just the is it going to be the first thing here potentially? Other file? Okay, yeah, here it is. Influence of user-centric design. Yeah, I know. All right, that's all good. I found it. Okay. So I'm going to copy this over. Oof. One of these is messed up. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's probably just the connections. That's fine though for right now. It's not even for the LLM. And then that's that one. Long-term engagement strategies. And these are basically, this one's good, right? So these are like flowcharts, right? These provide the connection points between knowledge. These play an important point, an important role. This one is actually, maybe I'm copying the wrong thing here. Integrating user feedback. Are these the correct titles I'm getting? Pretty sure it's right. Next one is building user communities. We'll do a couple more of these just so I can give you an example. And this one is learner analysis. Sounds good. We're going to delete these from the labels. And that top graph is like the master graph, right? Nice. Okay, I see what you're going for here. Okay. Okay. And that is... Okay, so you did a good job with distilling this data, actually. That was solid. And utilization LMS. Yes, there's a lot here, so I'm just gonna use these as an example for now. Yeah, it's not proper, but it's fine. Okay, so do you have a, I need to remember. They all linked, like all of these graphs are parts of the first one, right? With this one? Or are they not? I'm just assuming. I haven't actually checked. I guess there's just a bunch of different stuff. Okay, either way. So basically you have, okay, so now you have your knowledge representation and your graphs, right? So this is like your knowledge, right? This is your knowledge base for whatever you're trying to do. So if you're trying to do something, yeah, I figured after I looked at it, it's just a different one. That's fine. So there's just a lot of different ways of where you can go from here. The really important thing is just understanding what you're trying to do or like what you're trying to build from this, right? So all of these different things, like every single one of these setup, like every single one of these maps is its own little process, right? So all of these things are valuable sequences and just options and labels in general. It just comes down to how you want to do this, right? So if you want to set this up in Gemini or Cloud, for example, you can build out a system with a bunch of context and prompts and stuff that's going to basically be able to functionalize this depending on your vision for it, right? So it just depends on what you're trying to do. So the first thing that I typically do at this point is, well, it's a little hard for me to tell you how this is going to look because I haven't read every single graph, right? So I'm not 100% sure on the total content of this, but if we look at the KR, it's all about like UX and just design focus, right? And different types of learning styles and ways that you can do this. It's basically like a comprehensive UX course on this, right? So like, for example, like this right here, if you're in Gemini, you could do this. Let me show you a great example of this right now. We're going to connect everything together at the same exact time. So this is like the knowledge base right now of this. And then over here in Livestream, we have our lesson plan generator here. Let's make 2 files. And then we'll make another file for CurseForge. CFN. Because like here's the thing, like I don't even know so like I don't even know what this looks like yet. I don't have myself an idea of what this would look like functionalized. So this is kind of what I'm going to show you what I kind of do to start ideating stuff, right? The first thing to do is always to structure the data. It's always a step 1. So we're going to pop this one in the text file, save it, and then we're going to pop, of course I did it backwards. Okay, we have it in here, and then, oh, that's why. And then we have it in both of these now. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to AI Studio here. We're going to upload these. Did it not save? It didn't save. All right, hopefully it saves this time. Yeah, there we go. So right now this is about, let's see, it looked like about, okay, so right now this is only about, what, like 15,000 tokens. So technically this would fit in GPT, but this isn't all the data, right? This is only like 5 out of the 60 graphs, like you said. So that's fine. So right now we have, oh, they don't let you actually insert text between these anymore. Interesting. We're going to say activate this. Oops. I don't want this. I want this. Oh, you can move it down. Perfect. Perfect. So like Gemini doesn't have access to Python 2, obviously, but it does have a tool like that. So it should technically still work, I would think. Right. So we today in this live stream we structured 2 different types of data, right? We structured the lesson plan generator and we structured this CurseForge net. CurseForge net was modeled from knowledge, right? So this is more of like structured knowledge already. This is a great example of stuff that you can use as an input to some kind of existing engine to then get even more valuable stuff from, right? So what you basically do when you have this kind of stuff modeled, right, is you start using it into different things to try to get an idea of how you want to actually be using this, right? Because the point of this is to be turning into something that would be useful for others, right? You have a couple options here, right? Like you could make a gem where you just throw this in as a context and it'll just be knowledgeable about whatever you put in, right? That's a way that you can do this. Or you can build this out to actually have all of the knowledge and sequences and all of this stuff be mapped to actions, right? You could map it into different types of workflows and stuff for the LLM to follow that start to use this in useful ways, right? But all of that needs to be mapped. Otherwise, you're just going to have to be reliant on emergence just kind of putting that stuff up. So we'll see what kind of this does right now. So it's just repeating it right now. Is this, there's a chance this is Flash. Yep, it's Flash. How did I know? All right, so now this is Gemini Pro. Turn this down a little bit. This is the thing with Gemini, with that first input. Sometimes it gets a little weird. Yeah, I don't have anything for it to do yet. Let's see. Is it actually just repeating it hard? Maybe I need to use one of the commands from here. Oh, duh. That should work. Ugh, it's not doing it. All right, so now we have a top-bottom framing with input with layers in the middle. Let's see if this works a little better now. Yep, there we go. All right, so now we have all this working. Now we have all of this working together, okay? This is what you call harmonizing layers. Okay. So now we have a lesson plan on this, okay? So now let's test the rest of the logic. The next part of this is what? Personalization, right? So technically, now you could do some kind of input if this was in GPT, for example, right? Now you can enter in personalized information, and technically it should be following the workflow, okay? So Let's see if it follows. Yep, it is. So here, this is my point here, right? It's that it's really just about a couple different things. If you're doing something that's going to require expert knowledge, the first step to this stuff is structuring and organizing the knowledge in the first place, right? Doing the meta modeling. Once you have that knowledge done, you can start using it in different ways to kind of realize what you're trying to do with this, right? The way that I do this typically is I run this stuff through different types of engines that are kind of related to it, just to get a kind of feel for how it's going to play out in unison with different types of setups and get a better idea of what I'm trying to do with this, right? So like any of these things, any kind of pairing between knowledge and functional logic works well. Just depends on how you want to do this, right? So for example, the way that I feel like is working the best right now is that you basically have a certain kind of setup here. So I showed you how to set this up in terms of how to structure this, right? I would consider this to be the base knowledge of the system, okay? This is the knowledge. You don't want to touch this. You don't want to reduce this or do anything with this, right? This is really good. This is really good data. You want to preserve this. So the problem becomes, well, then what do you do if you have a really small context window? Oh, you don't really do a lot with this because you just don't have a lot of context to work with, right? There's no way to just like remove half of this and have it keep working, right? So there's a couple different ways that you can go forward from here. So when you set something up like this, but with all of the graphs, okay, each one of those is its own sequence, right? The LLM can easily read those and understand what it means, but it doesn't know what it wants. It doesn't know what you want to do with it, right? So what you can do is you can treat each of these like nodes itself, right? So this would be suddenly, let's move all of these to a different size. Why can't I? So let's make this the knowledge base. Okay. It's going to have a similar setup here. Up here, we would have something else like logic or something like that, right? Something that is establishing the context for the LLM. So before you ever just provide like a ton of like representations and knowledge, you typically want to structure the perspective before that point in order to be able to make sure that it's understanding how to process this correctly, right? So you can have stuff up here too. And then down here, right, you can start recursively functionalizing this simply by doing what I showed you here, this kind of stuff. But instead of that in particular, what you're going to want to do is set up a prompt system, okay? Or whatever. Now the question becomes, how do you do this part, right? And that's what I'm about to show you. All right, so the hardest part of all of this, and this is why I stress this enough, and this is why I'm really glad that Hagar was doing this, because the hardest part of this is doing this part. Once you have this part done, everything is cake compared to that part, because you have to make sure the knowledge is correct. If the knowledge is correct, you're fine. That's all that matters, right? So there's a couple different ways that you can do this, and the best way that you can functionalize this, even if you don't even know how, is with prompt generators, okay? Because every single one of these measurements is something useful. It might have seemed daunting when I'm like, all of these are sequences, right? But that means that's because it's true. All of these are something useful to know. So even if you don't know what you're doing yet, you can still figure something out. And then when I show you this flow that you can do, you'll realize how easy it is to just pretty much do this for anything, right? Okay, so let's just have like a basic setup here, because we don't even know what it's going to look like yet. I don't even know what this is going to do yet, right? So what we can do here is now we can move over to the Anthropic console, okay? This is where this will be nice right now. So I'm going to start by It's probably not the best way to do it for that part. Let's do this right now. I'm going to copy this, paste it in here, and then just generate, just to see what happens. You can put in more. The funny thing is you can put in more inputs to Anthropic's prompt generator about 5 times over than you can to GPT in general. Review the knowledge base and describe. Okay, so that's fine. So basically this is like a, this is a prompt, right? This is a generalized prompt for reviewing a knowledge base with a task, but it's something, right? That's not exactly what we wanted though. So let's change this slightly. It does get, it messes up sometimes when you do large inputs though, because it'll start repeating the system prompt. It's kind of funny how easy it is to get the system prompt on this. Like it'll try to give it to you basically. Yeah, it abstracts it unless you give it more instructions. So let's do this. One of these will work. Do you guys know how much it is for? I haven't checked how much each one of these generations is. It can't be a ton though. Okay. So on this, I'm glad we're doing this because the prompt their prompt editor is still a little limited, right? So this is one way that you can try to do this, right? Another way is to do something like this. Let's go over here. I did not mean to hit that. Honestly, if you can do it in here, what's even better is everything's easier in Opus. Oh, it's Sonnet, that's why. Your typical response. Actually, Cloud's probably going to say no too. It doesn't like the word engine. Whoa, why is this lagging hard? I apologize, I cannot do that. Okay, there we go. Hey, there we go. Thank goodness for Cloud. That's what I was looking for. All right, so now I'm going to show you something else. Because the reality is that there's so many different ways to streamline this stuff. It's really hard for me to show you that unless I just show you specific examples. So for example, right, I've done a ton of work on functioning this stuff. I already have a lot of prompts and stuff for this stuff, but it's for how I like to do these things, right? So one way that you can do this is by doing things like this. Let me pull up the templates in general are just typically the best way to do this kind of stuff. New module. I think my internet went down for a second. I should be back now. All right, anyways, what I was trying to show you was there are better ways to do this. I'm just pulling up a template right now. Where are you? Okay. Where the heck is this? There we go. So this is not set up for this, but it will work for the job. Seed, and then client reflection. We can remove that. And we can remove this. Okay. Let me show you what I'm talking about now here. And I'm going to add it to the live stream. All right, so this is like a, this is what I like to do for like Notion prompt templates, okay? You can set up prompts like this in like an object or whatever that are prompt templates, right? And you can use these to basically, I wonder if this will even let me. Why did it paste that again? Yeah, we're good. Okay, so we can just delete that in this because we're not using. I'm going to insert curse here. I'm basically giving it a template right now to I'm giving a template right now to form things around, okay? Once it's learned the knowledge, which you know it's done by this good prime up here, okay? Now you can start having it do things with that knowledge. Now I like to use Opus for my encoder basically because Opus is really, really, really good at transforming knowledge into functional logic in general. So what I just showed you right here in terms of how I just set this up, like this is what you do to start expanding the knowledge base, okay? It's this simple. Because everything that you do in this kind of fashion now is expanded training data because it's connecting more dots and doing more things. So we'll see what it does with the, see? This is the cool kind of stuff that you can do with this. And I like to template everything and just modularize everything because it makes it really simple, right? Like I could spend 5 days trying to figure out how to basically do this in a different way, or I could just use a template. See, look at that. One input in Opus, and we got what we wanted from this. Perfect. Right, because this is the little core logic that we can now put here. Look at that. So now all of this was to try to figure out this perspective lens, right? Because that's really what we wanted here. This is the perspective for how it's going to process the knowledge, right? And then we're going to be making prompts in the system that are going to basically functionalize this knowledge in different ways. And then after that, you have a command scheme, right, that map certain inputs to certain prompts, right? So then what you can do is you can link all of it together simply from this, okay? So let's do a quick little example. So what would be the best way to do this? I basically want to take one of these. Let's just see what happens when I put it in here. It would be best if it had the context already. I'll probably wind up doing this in the session I just showed you. Yeah, this is the problem with the prompt. Honestly, I wonder if they changed the prompt because it's been getting worse lately. It just abstracts it completely instead of making something useful. That's not very useful. Let's try mine. I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know why I'm using it at all. Okay. Let's just see what it does. Whoa, what the hell is... What the hell just happened there? Yeah, so this would be something that you could use here. See, look at that. So we turned this little structure. There's no context except this, right? But by running it through the correct engine, you can functionalize it with a role and everything like that, like a persona almost, right? This is your basic structure, right? This is how you start to refine the way that this is going to work functionally, okay? So you do this and you probe the knowledge and you do different things to find, because if you have the knowledge that went into making this, right, you have the best idea of how this could work into a solution, okay? Now, there's a million different engines and different types of transformations that you can put stuff through in order to do this, right? This is just one example. But, for example, you can be like, okay, I like this one. So let's go down here and be like, user feedback probing. I don't even know. Probing. Right, so you could take this structure and you could put some inputs here, like parameters for that you would want the person to have options to, right? You could be like, IUNFW, come down here. I don't know, you could be like, nah, you don't even have to do that. I don't even know what to say. Right, so this is a basic example of how you can map this stuff together, okay? So I could take all of this, go back to my file, recursively improve, save, go back to Opus. Here's my newest version. Missing some prompts though. Help me out. And remember, I still have the insert tags in the other page. Let's see if it does it right. See if it does more. Yep, there you go. So this is the power of this stuff. As soon as you have a couple different shots of something and then you structure it in a delineated way, it allows the LLM to start using this stuff properly, right? And because I gave it one prompt, that prompt is going to be projected too. See, look at that. Just like that, you've instantly automated prompt creation for every single module on the entire thing. And then you can map it all together in whatever way you want and then put it all into a single file. Start it with a single command, and then anyone can interact with it after that point with commands and stuff like that, and it'll work every single time. Right? This is what I mean by achieving emergent coherence, right? This right here is achieving emergent coherence, right? Because you provided enough shots and context to project the system. So now all you have to do is just literally add new stuff in, synthesize prompts for it, and you have you've pretty much functionalized it from that, right? That's the thing. The hardest part is figuring out the data you want to work with. At this point, it's just a matter of achieving emergent coherence, right? So like everything that I was doing, this whole stream, was trying to achieve this for different solutions, right? Because you never know exactly when that's going to happen. But as soon as you do it in any kind of session, you're set, right? Because this just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it did 5 prompts building off of the structured information before into structured functionalized prompts, right? So technically, you could replace these sequences with this now, because this not only contains the sequence, but it also has functionalized it, right? Now, these are obviously not the best possible prompts, right? But they're prompts, right? These can all be refined. So you could literally go in here and just start pasting in the other graphs, and it would pretty much automatically create prompts for you at this point, right? So I can send you the session for this, so that way you can do that. But that's how it works, right? Now you can take all these prompts, go back in here, add them in here, right? And now you have a system, right? Now you can map those commands here, make a little UI or something here that shows it what to say at first, and then have you can input any command, it'll activate that module, run that workflow, and all come together, right? That's the basic gist for that. That's the basic gist. So for example, okay, and then we'll put that there. Jimmy's mad that I functionalized Haggard and not his. I'm sorry. I'm gonna make it cool though. Don't worry. copied that on accident. All right, so we got all those. Okay, that's fine. Right, so this is now, we started from some knowledge base, right? We distilled it into a perspective, structured everything into a repository, right? And this is our prop, right? So now we could go in here, take these commands, and this is going to be, you could do nothing else, and this would be an emergent system just from doing this. That's the cool thing. What am I missing here? Imagine if you had all the graphs in here. Because look at this, all of these things do something different, right? And honestly, I technically don't even need to write this for the others, because that will provide the frame for how to do these, right? So now, I'll probably want to delete this so it's not confused, right? So now this, I can delete this now. You don't really need the database once you're done with that, right? Because now this whole thing can just be plopped in a toggle, right? Core, knowledge base, prompting system, commands, user command. We can just keep it commands. That's fine. Okay. So all of this is the prompt. And now we can go and we could do something like, I guess we could do, I don't even know what these, I haven't even looked at what they do. Okay, this is literally a lesson file right here. Or no, not really, but you know what I mean. So we could do this. Content type. What does this do? Course topic. We could try this one. Right, it knows what to do. It's that simple. You just have to map stuff properly. Right, and then in the same way I show what I do for setting up and controlling the personalized learning system, right? The same exact thing can be used with this to adapt and control the behavior in any kind of way you want, right? Basically set up you functionalize different parts of this, right, in the prompts, set that up into its own repository, right? And then as you start using them, you start making them better, right? You can attach a tool chain to any of these. You can attach better instructions. You can attach response anchors and templates in order to basically tell it what to do for this stuff. All of that can be pieced in. And then the second you activate this in the same exact way, whatever you have in there, it's going to follow what you want to do, right? This is basically like creating a prompting system progressively from a structured data set, okay? This allows you to basically recursively optimize any kind of task space, right? This is basically the full process front to end. That's the thing with everything I've done here, right? The only part I didn't do myself is what Hagar did, right? Because he did the whole modeling process for this knowledge in the first place, right? So what I did was I basically showed the other steps to this, okay? But it all comes together into these very similar ways. What I show you here is pretty much graph prompting, right? Once you achieve emergent coherence, right? That's the thing. Like once you do this, where is it? Once you hit this, I need to make sure I'm stressing this enough. Once you do this, you achieve it everywhere, because all you have to do is copy this into your structure to save it, and you can be pretty damn sure that it's going to do the same thing everywhere else at that point, because you basically have created shots here. You've created 5 shots that have transformed knowledge that was originally given to it through multiple gates and then created shots, right? So when you provide anything that's an unstructured form of this in terms of like the sequence original, and then provide this at the same exact time, the holographic interconnectivity between those two things existing in the context creates this emergent transformation in the first place, right? And then that means that if you put in anything else in this original state, you can almost immediately convert it into a functional form simply from that, okay? The important thing here is having these, is how to figure out how to model the transformations and then encoding them, adding them back into the system, and then using that to progressively optimize and augment this in whatever way you want, right? This is the basic flow though, right? It's not really structured in the sense of there isn't a set step-by-step process that you can follow to make this work perfectly every single time. Sometimes it just takes time. Sometimes it is just chance. Sometimes you get lucky. And just sometimes you immediately already know what you're doing from the start, right? There's a lot of different ways to do this. I do it extremely dynamically at this point, and it really just depends on what the end goal is, right? Like what you want this to look like, where you want it to work, what the constraints are, who's going to be using it, stuff like that, right? But this is the basic way of how I do all this, okay? And then you can do this, right? And now you have like a nice little engine in general. So you can know this will work, and then whatever you put in here can be functionalized with prompts. And then as long as you map these in some kind of way, you can do, there's literally no limit to how you do this. And this isn't even necessarily the best setup. It's just a setup, right? It's that simple, right? Because now you can start taking this as a single copyable object into literally Cloud or Gemini or anything and start immediately using it as a structured knowledge base, right? So as soon as gems come out, for example, right, you can anything you made in this direction could be a one gem solution. That's just how much is possible with this stuff right now. Okay. So that's the basic gist of this. This took a little longer than I was originally thinking it was going to, but it's fine because we went through the process. Most people watch these live streams after I finish anyway, so I don't even know if Hagar is still here or not. I'm probably going to figure out a different way to do these streams next time, just because I want to have more interactivity. I think the previous setup was better for that. These people could talk too. I don't know. We'll see. All right. What time is it? 5:40. So I did about 2.5 hours today. Damn. We did this. We almost did this. I just need to turn it into a GPD. We did this. And we did this. But I'm going to make a video specifically on this. To do this. Be more helpful on that. I have not done this yet. What we'll do instead for this is I will have a call on Zoom scheduled where you guys can join and we can talk about this and I can show it. We'll do that this week. What is this one? All right. So do you guys have anyone who's still here have any questions or feedback or anything? Awesome. Yeah, no, I know people are typically I expect these live streams to be either like watched afterwards or watch on the side. So I try to focus on just making sure I'm going through everything. As long as it works to help explain in long content form, it's fine. Because I can always make more structured, smaller videos from any of this stuff, right? Okay, but let's do this then. So I'm gonna schedule a Zoom call this week where anyone can join, and we're going to talk about the content system. Basically, the way I have it set up right now, and I can just go ahead and show you guys, whoever's here. Right, so everyone's gonna get tokens. None of this is final. I'm still figuring this out. Everyone will get tokens, right? You'll get more tokens depending on whatever tier of Patreon you subscribe to, right? And then I'm going to do it retroactively. So if you've been a sub to me for a couple months, like you'll be able to get that in return. And then there's going to be different things that you could use your tokens on, right? So the way I have this right now, and this is what's going to be variable, is that I'm thinking basically like I'm going to predefine some different types of content, like high level categories that I'm cool with doing content on. And basically, you can do two different things. You can either vote on specific categories that you want priority on themselves, right? So you can vote on specific categories, and then people can also submit specific tutorial topics, right? So you can use more of your tokens to actually like submit a topic, and basically like I'll do a video on it if you submit it like that, right? And the way that this can work is that you can also vote on the topics themselves. So the way I see this playing out is that we'll probably have a period, a couple days where like people can submit topic requests in terms of topic submissions. So like anyone who wants to use tokens to submit a topic to basically get it on the schedule, we'll be able to do it during that period. And then what we can do after that point is open it up for voting, where everyone can vote with their tokens to basically control how they want priority on like what I focus on. And then I'll have some constraints in this to where certain amounts can win in each one, all that kind of stuff. So you could be strategic with it and stuff like that. But either way, the point of this is to be able to basically be like, if you subscribe on Patreon, you basically have the ability to get me to do some kind of content based on something that you want, no matter what, basically, right? So either through a short curated video, or and then if people are doing the bigger ones, they'll have the ability to be able to have a lot of say over what I'm doing if they want, right? So it's a way to basically give everyone a say, while at the same time, if you support me financially on Patreon, right, you'll have a lot more control over what I'm doing, and you'll be able to easily every month set up long and short content for me based on whatever you submitted that you wanted me to go into. We can also do it where if there aren't particular categories of things that people submitted, that's where the category voting comes into place, right? Because then I can just go based on of whatever categories people like the most and have the most votes on. I can use that for how I prioritize what type of content to make, and then I can just pick a topic, right? So either way, that works with me, and we'll tweak this. Obviously, I want to get this right, and I want to streamline this so it's easy to do. But this is what I'm thinking right now, because this could potentially be really nice in terms of like a lot of different ways. Because right now I'm kind of just doing whatever. I want to make this more structured, but at the same time, every single person literally wants me to do something differently. So I figure this is a good way to combine everything into one system that's easier for me, and also just helps me get more things done in a month in terms of what people are looking for right now. So basically, this will be a way to get all types of content from me, and then the community will basically decide what I'm doing, and then Patreon subscribers will have more say over what that is. Okay, so that's just what I'm thinking right now. We'll do a call this week to talk about it more with everyone, and then I'll make some final refinements, and we'll have it live this week, and then we'll go from there. Okay. But everyone who subscribed to me is going to retroactively get stuff, so you don't need to worry about that. I'll be making a lot of content this month. That's the plan now, and that'll be good. I'm fine with that. So that's the point of this system, is to get more stuff in your guys' hands, right? Awesome. Hi, Jack. Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for subscribing. All right, if there's any more questions, I'll give another minute if there's any more questions. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it off and then get going. We got other stuff to do. Thanks, Ark. We're finishing up now, actually. Okay. I'm gonna go off then. If there's no more questions, I'm gonna eat some dinner. This is a 3-hour stream, y'all. Jack, message me outside of this, and we can talk. It depends. Yeah, just message me if you want to message me outside of this. I can help you out. No problem. Thanks, guys. And then I'll make shorter videos on the stuff that we went over here in the live stream, just to be more focused on this stuff. Because what reality is, what we did today was really useful because I didn't finish Jimmy's system. I'm sorry, but I use this as a way to achieve emergent coherence with something else. Okay, so the same exact process can be done with the Lessing planner. It's just that I want to make that into a GPT because I think it's going to be the best in a GPT with this new data frame setup. All right, Jims, but we'll get this done. It's solved as far as I'm concerned now. All right, see you guys. Have a good night. I'll be in the Discord later tonight, and then I'll be in touch, okay? We'll get this grooving. Hope you had fun.